and Splyce. Storied organizations, talent-filled rosters. Only one of them can move forward, the other goes home. I feel like I've built the stakes pretty epically,
You've staked it up, mate.
Let's get into the draft.
If I had that many stakes, I'd be building like garden fence. It's incredible. Gragas ban, Varus ban for Misfits.
Ooh, the shift up. Here we go. What's Kobe gonna bring out? Immediately, my brain goes Jhin. Why? Well, he used to be well known for his Jhin. It's something that he tends to bring out in clutch situations, and it is a big comfort pick for him. But what did Misfits lose in exchange for that ban? The Braum is open, the Morgana is open. Clearly they've realized that the priority for Splyce is the Tahm Kench.
Yep.
Again
with the Kai'Sa.
I don't know how I feel about this. I honestly don't know. Clearly they've picked it to take it away from Kobe. With Varus banned away, they're trying to force him onto something that he's less comfortable on.
So where are we looking for Kobe? Ezreal is most played. Varus, Kai'Sa, Jhin, Lucian, Ashe, Heimerdinger.
I think I know.
What's it going to be?
He's played it before. He did it in Game 5 versus Schalke. I think this is a Vayne game. I think this is when he's going to do it. That is what I'm going towards. That is what my hunch tells me.
What a way it would be to round out the day. The Braum is the first lock for Splyce. They get that onto Kasing. No Tahm Kench this game. And there's the rise as well for Niski in the mid lane. Didn't have the best of laning phases on that, but worked out well for Splyce in the end. And what a time to bring it back. It's Game 5 against Misfits.
Well, the rise is out for Niski. They shut it down very effectively, I believe, in Game 3, but then he ended up coming back into the game and having a very solid performance on it. Misfits, Splyce so far have a pretty solid draft. This will kind of move Misfits away from the... never mind, it will not move them away from the Alistar. Typically, Braum considered a pretty good matchup into the Alistar, but Misfits clearly still valuing that engage. They don't want the Ornn this time around because Braum is considered a really good answer to it thanks to his shield. Instead, they're sticking to the Aatrox in the jungle, something that Max Law so far has had a lot of early game success with. And I kind of want to say that he is... No, he did lose Game 1 on the pick.
1-1 on the Aatrox thus far. There's the Vayne! That prediction is actually pretty impressive, Vedius. Give you some props for that. Picking the Vayne in Game 5. Now, they get into the second phase of picks and bans. So, usually we've seen this towards the jungle, but Aurelion Sol is the first ban.
Ooh, wow. Interesting.
We said it was something we wanted to see Sankux play.
That's true, that is. But the thing about Vayne is there is a risk picking her early in the draft because there are many champions that can mitigate what she's capable of doing. Like Cassio is still up and available, something that can make her life really difficult because of the miasma. Remember that she's also pretty short range and she's really good at dealing with tanks. But if you have a lot of dive that can just jump on top of her, then it can make her life a little bit more difficult. So Splyce are taking a bit of a risk locking it in now because it gives Misfits more room to draft around it. But at the same time, if they don't pick it now, they run the risk of it getting banned away. So they wanted to guarantee that pick.
So if we're looking for dive to get onto the backline of the Vayne, something like a Jarvan really comes forward priority for me.
Personally not convinced by the Jarvan.
Like
I think that right now you'd have to put it in the top lane. And you kind of want a tank in the top side of the map. With Ornn taken off the board and denied away from Odo, I feel like Sion kind of raises in value.
Sion makes sense.
At the same time, we heard from Caps, W would just melt through him like piece of paper. So I don't know if they will prioritize that. Splyce could look to focus it themselves. Then maybe you put Misfits on something like a Maokai. We'll see this. Like, this second half of the draft is very open right now.
Top lane and jungle still left for Splyce. Mid lane and top lane, we think, for Misfits Gaming. But Splyce don't have that Skarner pick that we saw them save for late in draft 3. Here, the Sion looks like it's going to be the pick on the side of Splyce here, which means Misfits cannot go towards that top lane tank.
They go for the Cho'Gath. Something that he actually hasn't valued at all so far in the series. Would be fine into this matchup.
This is most played across the split, 8 games, 3 and 5 on it. Alfari hasn't always had the most success.
Well, he had the 3-0 versus G2.
He did.
And then he did have that one win against Vitality as well. And like, it does offer a decent kill threat. Nope, instead they're just going to stick with the Maokai. Oh, Poggers.
Okay.
We got a Yasuo on Sankux. Triple damage threat from the Misfits Gaming. This is what we want in our Game 5. This is hype.
But the last time we saw him on Yasuo, it did not go well.
Solo Q is like flipping out right now. They're like, ha! There's a Vayne on one side, there's a Yasuo on the other side. What do we do? Who wins in the ultimate Solo Q battle?
That is the question. Splyce going to get the Trundle as their final pick. So compositions fully rounded out now for both these teams.
So,
yes, tell me what they want to do.
So, like, you got a solid 1-3-1. The great thing about Vayne is she works really nicely on a side lane. And for Misfits, like, I would say Yasuo can handle her in a side lane. That could be one of the reasons why they picked it. And they're expecting Han Summer to go more towards the scaling build in with AP. So they will have a source of AP damage on their composition as well. But when you kind of look at the team fighting power, I give the slight edge over to Misfits just because of the sheer amount of damage that you have with the Aatrox, how well it synergizes with the Yasuo, and how Alistar synergizes with it too. Maokai is just a very solid late game team fight tank, and his lockdown potential is great. So 5v5, I feel like Misfits has the advantage, but in a side lane, split up across the map in terms of skirmishes, I do believe that Splyce do have the edge. One of the big win conditions will be late game Vayne. She's one of the few that can handle Kai'Sa in the late game, and if we're being honest, Kobe has been the better performing late game AD carry so far in this series. Whereas for Misfits, it's all about Senkux and Han Summer. Remember, they don't need to get ahead early, they scale well. Like, I feel like this game is just going to be a lot about scaling.
Okay.
Who has the stronger side lanes? How well do you set up the team fights? Junglers are going to be really important. Maxwell so far has been able to consistently find solid early game leads. Can he do the same again? What will Xerxes do? Will his focus be on vision control and helping his laners get through what could be a rough laning phase? Oh, I'm excited. We're here to game 5. The stakes are massive. Let's jump right into it.
It's do or die for both these teams. One loss chucks you out for the rest of the year. One win takes you through the gauntlet to play against G2 later on. Last chance, perhaps desperation for these teams as well. We'll see as the game progresses. Scaling on both sides. Vedius is slowly choking on his ginger
Right, so just before we get into the game, like, very exciting, lots of stakes.
Lots of stakes.
But we see no serious level 1, so I think we've got a little bit of time.
You tell your story, Vedius.
So my manager came up before the game, gave us a little bit of a pep talk, and said, here, I've made you this wonderful herbal drink to help you with your voice.
It's ginger, lime, and honey, I believe.
And I just tried it, and there's so much ginger in it.
Mine tastes really good.
My throat is like, so the thought was wonderful, but
the execution was not the best.
Oh, so much ginger. Anyway, right, back to the game at hand. Let's go.
Okay, so Misfit's going to set up down towards this bottom side, give the red buff across towards Maxlord. Xerxes will get a red buff of his own. And something we've seen Maxlord do really well throughout the series is control those scuttle crabs. I want to see if he gets both of them again this time, or if Xerxes is a little bit more willing to try and fight up against the Aatrox in the early game.
Yeah, I'm also interested to see how the lane phase goes in the bot lane. You're going to be contracting the junglers. I'm going to be looking at the AD carries because one or the other has had a winning 2v2. So Han Summer got it last game on the Xayah. Kobe has had it every other game. This time around, the Vayne, not known for her super strong laning phase, but into a Kai'Sa who doesn't really trade super well, Vayne should have the advantage, especially when paired up with a Braum. So you kind of expect the Vayne to get an early push, especially seeing as he didn't have to pull, but at the same time, you don't expect him to stomp lanes. You're expecting the farm to be relatively even during the laning phase.
It's the 5th time we've seen Han Summer play this Kai'Sa as, 4th time, sorry, because he played the Xayah in the last game. He's gone back to the Kai'Sa here after having such a strong game on the Xayah. It's a little bit surprising to me, but Misfits have kind of said, okay, the problems with our draft before was not with the Kai'Sa itself, it was with other parts that meant that we weren't able to get our AD carry ahead. Almost did 1,000 damage a minute on the Xayah in that last game, continually picking off Nisqy. Very good job
but
him.
It also just emphasizes how well he plays when he gets a lead.
Yep.
Whereas in every other game that he didn't get a lead, he was not able to perform at that level. So will Maxlord look to try and gank bot to see if he can get him ahead, maybe shut the Vayne down, or will they just leave him on an island again? That's the big question. Because we've got decent scaling on both sides. 2-item Yasuo is what you're looking at. Same for the Rise. You kind of want your... you definitely want your Seraph's Embrace, and then you want to pick up your second item. That could potentially be a Zhonya's this game because of all the armor. It could also be a Morellonomicon. It could just be a Void Staff. Like, he has a lot of options. But the same with the Vayne. Like, kind of want 3 items because you'll go... I think you'll go Blade into Rage. Alternatively, you could go Blade into Rapid Fire into Infinity Edge. you actually have quite a few options on the Vayne. Also note that he's decided to go for fleet footwork. So he is going for more of the sustain build, similar to that of Hans Sama. And we haven't seen many fleet footworks on that many AD carries. Usually you see things like press the attack, but clearly they want that extra kite ability, they want that extra bit of healing back.
It does make a lot of sense, and we saw a little bit of the trade down towards this bottom side. When Mickey engages, expect Kasing just to put up the Unbreakable and actually mitigates any of the damage that could happen from the Alistar and Kai'Sa combination. As we said earlier, my eyes are on the junglers, and Xerxes is in a good position towards this mid lane. If he did want to get a gank off, pretty big minion wave pushing in for Splyce as well, as Nisqy clears it away with a Spell Flux. Nothing happening with that gank, but there's always the opportunity for something to happen on the rest of the map. A lot of explosive damage coming out from an Aatrox in the jungle, and Trundle, always known as strong in those early game skirmishes.
Definitely true. To answer your earlier question, by the way, they ended up trading 1-for-1 in the Scuttle Crabs.
Oh, nice.
So no one has the advantage yet, but we will keep track. Game 5.
Wait, I thought you were tracking bot lane. I'm the junglers.
Yeah, but I wanted to keep you updated.
That's kind of you.
Don't worry. So now we see Maxwell hanging around the bot side of the map. He does have the sweeper. I would imagine he's gonna... No, he's not gonna clear that one out. Instead, he has his eyes set on the soon-to-be spawning Scuttle Crab. He will find a Trundle.
Xerxes dodged back just a little bit there. Maxwell puts down the chains.
Maxwell wins this.
He does. He definitely wins at the moment. Dark and Blade coming out as well, but can't get past the pillar. Mickey was on his way up quickly as well, so Xerxes realized that he didn't have the help from his bot lane.
Wait a minute. There it is.
It's just high as the ninja crab, man. Hides in the wall.
I laughed because when I looked at Xerxes, seeing Maxwell run towards him, I had the same thought as Xerxes, which is, I'm Trundle. I can win this 1v1. I can steal his AD. And then Maxwell hit him in the face with a sword, and he was like, nope, nope, I'm out, nope. Just goes to show, even with the nerfs, early game Aatrox, still quite the terror. And why we've seen so much priority on it over, especially in the LPL, but it's been top lane, not jungle. Maybe Maxwell will revitalize the jungle pick.
I think part of it is what Alphari plays as well. Alphari is much more a tank player. You know, most play Cho'Gath, Mundo, Ornn, Sion, and then Gangplank at 2 games. Yes, he can play these carries, but if you're going to give Alphari something that you know he'll succeed on, you probably go towards a tank.
I will say that, having spoken to Alphari, tanks are definitely not his go-to favorite champion.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of top laners agree with that.
Whenever you speak to him and say, hey, what's your favorite champion? He looks with the eyes around, and then he goes, Maokai. Like he's being held against his will. And now we can see he's on his favorite champion. He's having so much fun right now. As the TP comes back in from Odoamne, he does have pressure on the Sion, kind of what you'd expect, as the level 6 mark is being hit across the board for both top lanes.
I'm just wondering if there's any interesting rune choices amongst these players. Once again, Conqueror on Senka, because as expected on the Yasuo, you've got Dark Harvest for Maxwell. He's played that every time he's played Aatrox. Xerxes gone press the attack on the Trundle, which is usually what we see.
Very standard, yeah. Grasp of the Undying as well on Odo gives you a little bit more trading power on many of these tanks. Very extended trades that often happen. For those that may have only just joined us for this 5th and final game of our first round of the Gauntlet, Dark Harvest is kind of the shift away from Electrocute, which many junglers have decided to go for. Maxthor is a big fan and advocate of it, and on champions like an Aatrox, which are really good at counter jungling and building up those stacks pretty quickly, you can make a lot, you can get good utilization out of it as well, especially if you can pick up extra kills in these fights. I believe Blitz made a really good video on the differences between Dark Harvest and Electrocute. Would highly recommend checking it out. It's very, very educational. Meanwhile, down in the bot lane, it looks like the full river control is in favor of Misfits. So kind of similar to what you were saying last game, where for Splyce, the early game vision, not their strongest suit, whereas for Misfits, they always look to try and gain control over things like the river and even the enemy neutral objective.
I think early game vision is non-existent for Splyce in most situations, especially down towards this bottom side. They have no awareness of what's going on, but somehow they've been making it work for themselves. We talked a little bit about bot lane priority and who would have the push pressure. Actually looks like Hans Sama is slightly ahead here, about 10 to 15 CS up. Probably 6 or 7 of those are about to be equalized, but it does mean that Misfits have the ability to roam up like this with the vision control and then get the Ocean Drain.
And I think it's because of the difference in vision. Xerxes is afraid to walk into the river to challenge Maxthor for things like the Scuttle Crab and for wards, which means that Cobb is forced to play on the back foot because he knows he doesn't have jungle support. So that's given Hans some of this extra bit of pressure to build this slight lead up towards the bot lane, and that's important for him because we talked a lot about how he likes to have lane leads, he likes to be ahead for him to really be performing at his optimal.
It definitely does. Guys, if you haven't had enough League of Legends for today, be sure to tune into the EU LCS post-game lobby after Game 5. It's at twitch.tv/EU LCS. We're actually live over on that channel right now, so you can switch and make sure that you don't miss any of the extra action. Switch now.
This League of Legends is staying the same. Now Maxwell hanging around. Level 7 means he could go for a dive. Trundle is hanging around as well. Xerxes doing a great job of reading Maxwell. He's done it consistently throughout this series. Denies the dive.
Fallen behind just a tiny amount in terms of CS and experience. He's about a level down, but it's nothing too monumental. It's 20 farm or so, but jungle farm can be slightly deceptive in terms of raw numbers.
That is a big number, though.
That is a big number.
Difference.
I'd like to see what the gold difference is between the two of them, actually, just to see how far Maxwell is ahead. It's 600 gold.
That's 2 kills.
Yeah, that's 2 kills. It's about the goal difference between the two teams as well. So Maxwell's early farming has just been that much more efficient than Xerxes.
Certainly has been. Aatrox, good clear speed. Will definitely inspire a lot of players at home to give it away. But also, this is one of the things about the Gauntlet. By being first in the Gauntlet, it now means other teams
You give away all of these strategies.
And you're kind of, because Splyce is good, right? You're forced to show them as well. You can't hide it. And every team will tell you, oh, we've got loads more strategies prepared. But I'm yet to see teams outside of perhaps Vitality actually show up with all these wide array of different strategies. So I'll believe it when I see it. For the time being, this will definitely be a big pick that both G2 and Schalke will keep their eyes on should Misfits be able to make it through. And for Splyce, they're going to recognize the power of Varus for Kobe, a big champion that has really done him a lot of favors throughout this series. Now on the Vayne, I cannot wait to see him perform in these late game team fights where he has been thriving so far in this series.
Yeah, both teams satisfied with scaling up to this point. Both AD carries will just look to get those 2-3 items under their belts. Is going to be Ginsu's Rageblade first for Hans Summer. Expect the AP build Kai'Sa from him, as we mentioned in Picks and Bans. And then Blade of the Ruin King first for Kobe. It seems to be his itemization as well. There are a few different options on the Vayne. If you wanted to go Storm Razor first, a few people have done that, but instead...
Yeah, I've seen quite a range, like Rageblade I've seen on some, I've seen the full crit on some. As you said, there's the early Storm Razor into crit. It's very preference-based.
Looking at Kobe specifically, it seems like he likes the Phantom Dancer at times as well, so wouldn't be surprised by that.
Yeah, that's another option as well. Definitely more of a dueling build. Sometimes you go for the rapid fire if you want that extra bit of team fight and poke, because she is a pretty short range AD carry.
Indeed.
Regardless, we'll keep track of it as the game progresses. Still relatively even in the early game, as now Misfits setting up for this Rift Herald. They have a Braum roaming up for Splyce, and Mickey is on his way, but Splyce will be the first to get there.
It feels like Splyce have given up this Rift Herald too many times throughout the course of this series. Maxwell has always been on point getting it, so now they're trying to fight it, but Misfits have the slightly faster reaction. It will be a 4v3 for the moment, as Odawane needs to come down. There's the engage, the knockup lands perfectly, but Maxwell already taken out. He's in the world end of the knockup onto Senkux. It's huge as well. Hans Summer finally joins the fight. Niski fighting out far down towards the bottom side, but here's Hans Summer, decimating smash. Hits onto the back of Maxwell. He flashes the wall. Niski gets away with the blast cone. Kobe coming in the final hour. Looking for the final shots through Misfits, but cannot quite find the connection.
And nobody dies. Looks like a very close fight. Couple of summoner spells burnt, but looks like the Misfits are actually the ones that come off in the back end. Or they come off worse in the summoner spell trade. Kobe is now grouped up with the team. Splyce have priority around the Rift Herald as a bunch of members go back to base. You've got to remember, this Scion, devastating in terms of early skirmishing. The initial setup looked pretty promising for Misfits, but they weren't able to close out as quickly as they would have liked. It was a really good trundle pillar that kind of split Misfits up from the side of Xerxes, and if it wasn't for that ultimate from Maxwell, that would have been first blood over to Splyce. But for now, gold still very even. No major gain on either side.
Yeah, still very close. Only 12 minutes in, of course, so both these teams still very happy just to wait and scale up as much as possible. We've seen Splyce do it. We saw them do it in the first couple of games, and their late-game team fighting was absolutely on point. Misfits have yet to show us that they know perfectly how to play the late game. They tend to get an advantage and then try and either snowball or just try and close out the game pretty quickly, whereas Splyce have shown us quite consistently that they, in those late-game team fight situations, they are very willing to take those 5v5s.
Yeah, quite right. And unfortunately for them, I mean, they did have that relatively clean game 3.
Yeah.
With the good
that was
game.
very clean.
Yeah, that was clean. But then game 4,
not so clean.
Not quite as clean.
No.
Which is kind of why we're at this point right now. definitely ups and downs for both teams. Mickey had a phenomenal performance in the last game, and rounding things out on his Alistair, he'll need to do the same to help his team secure a big win. Still keeping my eyes on the goal difference between the two AD carries, and right now it's dead even. They're going to be huge in these late game team fights, and we're also keeping our eyes on item spikes that will be coming in through for both these teams. First item is done for Hans Summer, Phantom Dancer being the priority for Senkux, and you imagine he'll work towards the Infinity Edge second. Nisqy already completed his first item too, and Kobe getting very close to that Blade of the Ruined King, but he's slightly delayed because he decided to pick up the Zerka's Greaves, whereas Hans Summer has skipped that for now.
Yeah, just gone straight for the Ginsu Rage Blade. Once again, Maxwell's going to start up the Rift Herald here. Odo and Alfari both have their teleports if they want to join the fight. Question is, do Splyce want to force? They know this is going down. Nisqy starting to step into the river. Misfits with all 4 players up on the top side of the map. Hex Flash jumps across the wall. Mickey gets onto Kobe.
That's a big
They just go for the engagement set. Kobe flashes away into the final hour as well. Hans Summer with the stun. Kasing lands the Glacial Fissure. Needs to keep his AD carry alive. And Kobe survives in the battle.
Does he know?
Cooks on the chase. Straight through him. Sweeps the blade through. That's 2. And Misfits have found the perfect fight on the top side of the map. Nisqy can't even get a kill. Senkuk's caught out a little bit here by Odo Omne. He will go down as well. And now Nisqy might look for a little bit more.
No flash.
He gets straight onto him. Nisqy is locked down. The plasma will solidify the kill.
And 3 kills go over to Misfits this time round. They use the Rift Herald as a means to start the fight, and Splyce get baited into it. They had the Summoner Spell advantage, but Mickey came up clutch. He knew the path that Kobe would take to join the fight, to set up the flank, and he got onto him before he could, burning both Summoner Spells, the immediate follow-up from Hans Summer. Everything came together that prevented Splyce from utilizing their front line, and the back line just fell apart.
Incredible stuff from Misfits. Found the perfect moment to strike. I thought perhaps they'd been a little bit caught out, but when Kobe survived at the end as well, it seemed like it was perfect for Splyce. But
so here's that Hex Flash coming out from the Alistair. The control ward into the knocker. Yes, Kobe gets the stun out, but instant heal. And I love this follow-up from Hans Summer, the confidence coming in. Kobe plays this as best as he could, but nothing he can do against a minion wave that just arrives to allow Senkux to join the fight. Maxwell picks up an extra kill with the red buff as well. Now, Senkux here is like, I have enough health to tank this and then get the kill, but the stun duration is so long that he ends up dropping as well. Now, Nisqy, he just ends up in the river, doesn't have the flash, and that gives an extra kill over to Hans Summer. So Misfits in the early game find a really good fight, and now you can see that this is the kind of lead that they love to use. Splyce will be relying on their late game insurance. Now, things aren't all doom and gloom just yet. The gold lead isn't that monstrous that you can't come back in this game, but eyes are on Vayne. Misfits have shown that they've struggled to close out these games, and Splyce are going to be relying on that and their fantastic team fighting power to regain control of the map.
Barry engages with the Twisted Advance. Flash used as well. They're trying to take down Odo Omne. He'll put up the Unbreakable. Nature's Grasp will stop Nisqy in his tracks. Unstoppable Onslaught gets Odo Omne to safety. The Vayne's still down towards the bottom side, so really no follow-up available for Splyce. Misfits went a little bit deep there, but they'll be okay for the moment. They actually know that Odo's there. Flash engage. Odo goes bye-bye. And that's good stuff for Misfits.
Double flash used from both Mickey and Maxwell. Malphar used his flash earlier as well, so that's a lot of summoner spells now unavailable for the side of Misfits, but they do pick themselves up another kill onto Odo. More gold into the pockets of Misfits. Still only a 1.5k gold lead though. Splyce still not at such a huge deficit that they cannot come back from this game. You can see the biggest differences are between the AD carries and the junglers right now, which for Misfits, kind of what you'd expect based on who the main carries are for this team.
And the question for Splyce is, can they get that gold deficit back? They need the Vayne and a couple of items. You see this engage in the top lane, and I thought Misfits had gone too far.
Nope, they didn't. They had the numbers advantage. Trundle wasn't joining the fight yet because he was being kept busy by the Yasuo. Vayne was nowhere near them, so Misfits felt like they could go for this dive. And Nisqy just doesn't have the damage quite yet. And unfortunately for Odo Omne, he does not know that there is a ward on the bush. And then here's the double flash. Both Mickey and Maxlaw more than enough. And then the sapling ends up getting the kill.
Oh, the PGL is right after this on twitch.tv/EU LCS. You can switch over there now if you want to see Alfari caught underneath his tower. Twisted Advance used by Alfari, but He'll get shredded out by Splyce. They find a good pick up towards this top lane. Meanwhile, Hans Summer's pushing in the bot. We'll get a tower for tower trade.
Yeah, good pick there from Splyce. Definitely what they need as they secure themselves the top tier 1. Finding that kill onto Alfari will definitely be valuable. Unfortunately, the goal didn't go over to Kobe, which is kind of where you want to be funneling those resources.
Guys, the NALCS countdown begins in 5 minutes on twitch.tv/NALCS with Game 1 of the NALCS Regional Qualifiers starting here on /Riot Games at the end of this match. Worry not, though, you can still catch the EULCS post-game lobby at twitch.tv/EULCS after this match. We're live on that channel right now, so you can switch over right now and stay in on the action.
Wait, Medic, remind me, where can I find PGL?
Oh, twitch.tv/EULCS.
So is that twitch.tv/EULCS?
Technically, it's http://www.twitch.tv/EULCS.
But I can still just go twitch.tv/EULCS and I'm good.
Yes.
Perfect.
If
Great.
you're on YouTube, it's fine as well. You can just stick on YouTube.
Perfect. Good to know. Thank you, Medic, for that update. As we return back to the game. Hans Summer, we're going to be given the blue buff. He is now working towards his second item. Things looking pretty good for Misfits. About a 1,500 gold lead in their pockets. Baron about to spawn, and they have good vision control throughout the river. Eyes will still be on Kobe and Niski to see if they can bounce back in this game. 2 items now finished for Niski, level 12. Definitely can be a big side lane threat, but also going to offer a lot more damage in the upcoming team fights. And Kobe so close to completing his next item, which looks to be the Rage Blade.
You get the Rage Blade second. Those silver bombs stack up incredibly quickly. He is the guy we have to watch in the next fight. Niski as well has the Spellbinder and the Seraphs complete. Zeke's conversion finished on Xerxes. They're just trying to buff up this AD carry as much as possible. He's the only man that's stuck with Splyce. Since they made it to Worlds, he has always been a part of this roster. Now, he's facing up against 2 of his former teammates for a chance at going to Worlds.
And you've got to imagine that with all the veteran talent that now sits on both sides of the squads, that they're not thinking about the pressure, they're not thinking about what this game means. All they have in their eyes is how they can win this game. But those stakes are still ever so real. Misfits and Splyce. One team moves forward in the gauntlet to play another grueling best of 5, whereas the other ends their year of League of Legends. Competitively. I mean, you can still play
solo queues. Yeah. Engage onto Kobe. Hans Summer goes in for it. The flash heal away from the veins. 2 summoners burn for none.
Instantly jumped in from Hans Summer, showcasing the talent that this Kaiser is able to pull off when he gets the jump on you. Kobe now being forced back is huge for Misfits because they can just gain full control over this jungle. You'll see that Senkuk's getting priority over mid, and all these wards being sweeped out. Oh, Mickey, though, takes a lot of damage.
Didn't burn his ultimate to get out of that, though, so he still has it if a fight does erupt. Misfits on the edge of a victory, on the edge of a best of 5 versus G2. Last time they faced, they won it 3-0. Mickey with the engage, Niski down low. Mickey the first to go down, though, and Splyce maybe can take this fight. Alfari in the bun line, he's shredded. Odoamne comes in with the unstoppable onslaught. There's the last breath, but is it the last hope? Look at the Bane, he's taken down 3, and it's all Kobe all the time for Splyce. They find a perfect fight in their jungle.
And Misfits fall apart. All 5 members end up dropping as Splyce stay 5 men strong. They have the Baron in their eyes, and suddenly the game is in Splyce's control.
Once again, the game turns on its head. Splyce find just some semblance of a team fight out of nowhere. Misfits made the engage, and Splyce said, thank you very much. We'll take 5 kills for none. We'll take your mid lane tower, we'll take the Baron, and we'll take the gold lead as well.
Misfits with a crucial teamfight loss that Splyce are more than happy to capitalize on. Things were starting to look dire, but it all starts with Mickey taking way too much damage in an earlier exchange. Now Misfits feel, we can fight this, we don't need to engage. But you can see, Hans Summer can't get onto the back lane, he doesn't have his ulti anymore. Senkuk can't even use his ulti yet, he has to use it onto someone like Xerxes, when both Kobe and Niski are perfectly healthy. He even lands the knock up there, but gets chain CC'd, and this is not the fight that they wanted. It was just free fire for both Kobe and Niski. That choke point was a perfect setup for Splyce, but now they're looking for a fight.
Get the last breath down onto Kasing. He's done. A good answer back for Misfits, perhaps still 2,000 gold behind, and staring down the barrel of defeat. The Baron buff remains for 2.5 minutes. How much can Splyce get out of it?
Misfits feeling angry though. They just, when the enemy team has the Baron, they don't slow down. They still look to group up. They still look to fight. Drake going to be picked up for the side of Misfits. Splyce, even with the gold lead, down a member now. But the big thing is that they've caught up in levels. Nisqy now ahead, level 14. Kobe, he was 2 levels down, and now he's managed to catch up to Hansama. Things looking great for Splyce.
Just in case you missed it last time, guys, the NALCS Countdown pre-show starts on twitch.tv/NALCS right now. So if you want to watch that, wait until this game's finished, and then you can go and watch that instead. Kobe pushing up in the top lane here with double cannon minions out farming on his way, though. Kobe still no flash, still no summoners. And we'll just back away, let the cannons do the work. Tower will not fall yet.
Very close, though, from the side of Splyce. They have a 2,000 gold lead for the time being. Baron buff's still going to be alive for about 1.5 minutes, and they're just going to keep pushing out these waves. This will kind of reset the state, whereas... Because, like, the game is still very even. You kind of look across the items, you look at where the gold is invested, and you can see that it's still a decent position for both teams. The big issue for Misfits is that that Vayne is now really online. And it becomes so difficult to teamfight against a Vayne that has such a solid front line that she can play around. Will they be able to find a successful flank on the side of Misfits? Or will Nisqy continue to cause terror on the side lane? Look, he's now level 15. He's almost completed what looks to be like a death cap.
He's still only at level 1 boots there as well, not even going for the Sorcerer's Shoes. Hansama building up towards his Zhonya's as that 3rd item. Will keep him a little bit safer, doesn't give him the damage spike that a death cap would. Looking at Senkix, now has the Infinity Edge Phantom Dancer combo, but he is well behind his lane opponent. Kobe is sitting at those 2 items as well. Ginsu's Blade of the Ruin King. Could be a Phantom Dancer next with the double daggers.
Oh, that fully stacked Rage Blade is terrifying on the Vayne.
There's the Rabadons. There's the TP in from Nisqy as well. He's going up towards the top side.
This is scary if you're Misfits. He's moved off to a side lane. He feels a lot stronger than the Yasuo is right now. He's just being forced onto wave clear duty in mid. Baron buff about to wear off. He used the Realm Warp top, going to secure another tower for Splyce. That gold lead is now accelerated to 4,000 in Splyce's back pocket. It's been a tense best of 5, constant back and forths. But
we talk about how the game state is pretty even here. It's only 4,000 gold the difference between the 2 teams, but the momentum is so in favor of Splyce. They got the last Baron, they're the team on the front foot. Misfits will feel like they're playing incredibly defensively after a fight they elected to take.
Well, it was pretty even until they took 2 towers. Because now he has a death cap on Rise, and you're like, ugh. Definitely... you're still looking at Hansama as one of the big carries. You can see that he's still on a healthy amount of gold. He's at 3 items. Kobe being forced to put onto the QSS as well. Like, things are pretty good. They still have a win condition if you're Misfits. Things aren't all doom and gloom. It's just that the Yasuo can't really 1v1 Nisqy in a side lane anymore, which means that he's constantly being moved off to a side lane. He now is level 16, and levels are a big deal in the late game. Having like a 1 or 2 level advantage over your opposition makes the 1v1 really, really difficult. So the fact that Alfaro is also on level 13, like he's giving up so many resources for his carries. Odoamne is level 15. Like Splyce can just divide up the map right now and force Misfits to not even utilize some of the big strengths that their comp does have.
Misfits trying to force up towards this top side though. We've seen them do this once before. It did work out for them. Hansama shreds through that tower pretty quickly. It falls. Now Splyce coming in from the side, looking for a re-engage if they can find it. Nisqy's still down towards the bottom lane. No teleport, no Realm Warp for him, but he's pushing in a lot of minions down there. So could just be Nisqy going for the inhibitor here. Maxwell steps forward, stunned up straight away, lands the Darkin Blade, but that's not enough. Has to go into the World Ender. Inhibits tower falling down towards that bottom side, and Mickey just overextends against his former teammates. Nisqy still pushing down in the bottom lane, and now Misfits have to run for the wins. They have to defend their base, and Nisqy is just on that inhibitor.
The rest of
Splyce will try and stop them from getting away.
They're just chasing right now. Nisqy gonna do as much as he can as he slowly chips away on these Nexus towers.
So Maxwell gets back. The first Nexus tower will fall before Maxwell can even answer Nisqy here. That's 1. Nisqy has the Realm Warp now if he wants it. Maxwell can't really trade into that, but here comes Senkix down from the top side. Prey Seeker misses, and that means that Kasing and Splyce can just push in this mid wave.
Splyce feeling really good right now. They have all 5 members grouped. Nisqy looking for a potential flank, but it's just a zone away the Misfits members. They secure another tower, and the goal lead gets ever bigger.
And once again, Misfits make the play. They call for top lane, they go for the tower, and they give up everything. They lose Inhibitor Tower and Inhib and Nexus Tower and a mid tower off one bad decision.
Splyce excellent at punishing the mistakes of Misfits. The Baron spawns in about 50 seconds, and this will be the ultimate deciding factor. Misfits had a good early game, but one bad fight, a single ace in the pockets of Splyce is what has given them so much control. Both of these carries will be instrumental in the success of their team. 4-1 and 2 right now for Kobe, 2-1 and 3 for Hansama, working towards that death cap. The third completed item for Kobe is what he's looking towards. Phantom Dancer is what we're expecting.
How many times have we seen this gold graph between Misfits and Splyce? Misfits get the lead, and then one moment, one opportunity that they take turns it right around. Splyce, they didn't miss their shot in this game, but feels like maybe Misfits have missed their shot at Worlds.
Look at the map. Look at the map right now. You can see that 4 members are grouped from Splyce in mid, and you have 3 members topside from Misfits. They have to go back to base. They have to defend this, otherwise they're just going to lose an inhibitor.
They might even lose it before they can get back. Recall started up, but 3 members strong, pushing in. Splyce instead say, no, we'll get vision control over the Baron. Maxwell actually stayed around for the moment. He'll now spot out that Splyce have gone towards it. He doesn't. He does stop his recall. So, if they start it up, Kobe, a couple of auto attacks in.
But this is fine. This is absolutely fine for Splyce because they know that they have Ryze threatening bot lane, and Misfits are divided because Alfari can't hold his own in a 1 versus 1. No one else has teleport on the side of Misfits, so Splyce, they can just hang around the Baron and just buy their time because they know that they're in a position of power right now.
And Maxwell still hasn't finished that recall in the red buff of Splyce. Now he gets back to join his team. Minion wave pushing in. It's not a cannon wave, but still enough to get a few auto attacks down. Of course, Vayne not the best at sieging towers. Very short range. Can get caught out pretty easily, especially from a flash from an Alfari jumping in, getting that twisted advance down. Big minion wave in the top lane for Splyce to deal with, but they might be happy just not dealing with it. They just say, okay, come to Baron, come fight us. And clear out as much vision of Misfits as they can. 6,000 gold ahead, 30 minutes in the game. It's very much a game in Splyce's hands now.
Tension begins, I say begins, continues to build. Kobe now level 16, the Baron has been started off. They're going to melt through this. It is a Vayne hitting on that big objective.
Are Misfits even going to fight it?
I don't know. You can see pings coming down. Round wall out.
Nisqy, double decimating smash there.
Nope,
now they know it's happening, but they're giving it up once again.
Gone.
Splyce get it. The Baron, 31 minutes in, an 8,000 gold lead, and maybe that is the death knell for Misfits. And the gong of victory coming out for Splyce. Now Nisqy caught off towards the bottom of this fight. There's a Cloud Drake. That's not really the trade you want to make. Hansama has the killer instinct here. Unstoppable onslaught used. Hansama has to flash away, uses the supercharge. Trapped with the pillar. Exhaust comes down. Nisqy now wants to join the fight from the bottom side because Misfits actually have a perfect flank here on Splyce. Kobe goes unstoppable, takes out 1. That's 2. Senko's dived in, but he couldn't get the Vayne in time. And now Kobe can get the chase down. Takes out his opposite man. That's a superb fight for Splyce. They're teleporting into the base. They're done. They're dusted. Misfits are over, and Splyce strike in game 5. They are 1 step closer to going back to Worlds.
Huge team fight win from the side of Splyce. The Vayne pick works out in the end. Kobe comes up clutch for his team. Splyce will go on to play against G2 Esports tomorrow. And you said it, Medic, their step to Worlds, or they're 1 step closer rather, to securing that spot at Worlds.
Shame, of course, Misfits losing out after doing so well in their rookie year. They just did not reach the same level of performance this year. But Splyce, be very happy those 3 weeks they had to prepare to prep definitely worked out for them today.
Definitely frustrations on the side of Misfits. It was a close, hard-fought series. That single fight that resulted in the Baron for Splyce was all it took in that 5th and final game.
Just 1 moment, that's all you get. 1 opportunity, you can't miss your chance. And Splyce took it with open arms. Next up, they play against G2, who last time we saw them did not perform admirably at all. I think Splyce will come into that series thinking they have a very strong chance of playing Schalke on Sunday.
Yep. Well, we'll have to wait and see. We don't know what G2 has been preparing. They do get to watch all 5 games of this Splyce squad. A lot of footage to review and build off of. But Splyce definitely came prepared into this best of 5. After Misfits 3-0 over G2, expectations were high, but they lost the Fnatic, they lost the 3rd place, and while hard fought, unfortunately here they did lose to Splyce, who now are obviously very happy.
Yeah, I think Kasing is always smiling. I think it's a pretty easy person to look at if you want to see someone overjoyed after their win. Want to put a lot of credit onto the shoulders of Kobe as well. Throughout the series, he played incredibly well. His Varus pick, that Vayne as well, was able to keep safe at the back of a lot of the fights when I thought he was going to get taken out. Yeah,
a lot of credit to him. The early game wasn't going that great. He was 2 levels down behind Hans Sama, but again, you only need 1 fight. That's all that matters. You find that single play, you get those couple of kills, you get the goal investment, and you can suddenly swing everything around in your favor. So, mad props to Splyce. I think Nisqy definitely played a solid series too.
He did.
Perhaps not the biggest, perhaps not the biggest playmaker like we've seen him in the past, but
sometimes your team doesn't need that. Sometimes they just need consistency.
Very solid performance. Be interesting to see how they hold up against G2 tomorrow. What is G2 prepared? Because I feel like that in this time, we've seen a lot of growth and evolution from all the teams that haven't made it further in the playoffs.
We definitely have. Well, who do you think deserves player of the series? Is it Kobe, Nisqy, or Odawamne? Hit us up with your answer at LOL Esports on Twitter. I'm giving it to Kobe. Where are you going?
Yeah, I think Kobe is a very solid answer. I think he had a fantastic series overall.
Well, we're going to head on over to Quickshot, Odawamne, and our possible player of the series, Kobe, and see what they have to say after that win.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. I'm joined by 2 of the 3 player of the series nominees, Kobe and Odawamne. And just before we came over, Odo, I heard you giving just a touch feedback to Kobe about some of the Vayne moves or talking about that last game. How close was it, and were you scared you were going to lose it?
Yeah, I mean, I had to give Kobe a bit of pep talk on how to play Vayne for the last game, because, yeah, I mean, I obviously carried that game with my Vayne mechanics, so, I mean, we kind of messed up the early game in the last game, but then they kind of just, they just kept breaking their hands and just, like, I don't know how we won that team fight 5-4-0. They just ran into us when no one could hit, like I said, no, so she just stuck hitting me, and, I mean, it was kind of scary, but I feel like this series could have been a lot cleaner from us because we kind of threw a lot in Game 4. I think Game 4 was free win. But, I mean, all in all, I think it's kind of deserved because I think we stepped up to it.
Hey, look, you won the series at the end of the day, stepped up when it needed. Kobe, I want to talk about some of the messy games because it felt like Misfits got ahead early, fairly frequently, but then you guys clawed it back. You know, what was the mood in the games throughout the entire series when it looked very competitive and very close?
I think we always kept like high mood throughout the games, even though some of them were messy, as you said. There was some Urgot, some Aatrox, a lot of champs you don't see often. So yeah, it was a bit messy, but we always stayed calm and just focus on what we do with our comp and how we win the game.
Now, of course, Kobe, one of the face of Splyce, the man that has remained and stood behind. You've now eliminated Senkux from World Championship contention. How important is it for you to make this run in the gauntlet as the last man standing on Splyce?
Well, there's one left still on G2, so it's going to be one of us maybe. But it's really important for us, and like since we went out in quarters, my goal is still to win EU LCS, and that got taken away. So now it's just Worlds is all there is to fight for, and it's really, really hard for us because we have to make the miracle run, beat everyone. But I think we can do it, and with a lot more confidence after today.
No team that was in round 1 has ever advanced to Worlds from the 3rd seed from Europe. But no round 1 series has gone to 5 games in Europe either, so maybe it can happen. Last question before we do have to head on with the day. Odawamne, playing up against Wanda, playing G2 Esports tomorrow. How is that series going to go?
I mean, they kind of look pretty shit in their series against Misfits, I think. They kind of like, I don't know, they got murdered. So, I mean, I'm not too worried just because ever since the meta went away from funneling for G2, they're kind of like, they don't know what to do. And I don't know, they're just struggling a lot to find a playstyle that works for them. And I think, I don't know, this series was still messy for us, but I think tomorrow shouldn't be harder than today.
Well, we're definitely going to look forward to it and find out. Congratulations on the win, gentlemen. Stick with me for a moment because right here on Riot Games, we're going to head over to the NA LCS countdown. That will be followed by EchoFox taking on Clutch Gaming. Boo. If you want to hear the rest of post-game lobby, tune into twitch.tv/EULCS. It's a 90-second break. GG. Congrats, guys.